And while I slept, a great distress entered my heart, and I was weeping with my eyes in a dream. I could not figure out what this distress might be, nor what might be happening to me. Then 2 huge men appeared to me, the like of which I had never seen on earth. Their faces were like the shining sun. Their eyes were like burning lamps. From their mouths fire was coming forth. Their clothing was various singing. Their wings were more glistening than gold. Their hands were whiter than snow. Those men then took me from there, and they carried me up to the 6th heaven. There I saw 7 groups of angels, brilliant and very glorious. Their faces were more radiant than the radiance of the sun, and there was no difference between their faces, or in their dimensions, or in the style of their clothing. These groups of angels carry out and carefully study the movements of the stars, the revolution of the sun and the phases of the moon, and the well-being of the cosmos. When they see any evil activity, they put the commandments and instructions in order, and the sweet choral singing, and every kind of glorious praise. These are the archangels who are over the angels. These archangels harmonize all existence, heavenly and earthly. The angels who are over seasons and years, the angels who are over rivers and the ocean, and the angels who are over the fruits of the earth, and over every kind of grass, who give every kind of food to every kind of living thing. Also, the angels who record all human souls, all their deeds, and their lives before the face of the Lord. And in the midst of them are 7 phoenixes and 7 cherubim, and 7 six-winged beings, having but one voice, and singing in unison. Their song is not to be reported, and the Lord is delighted by his footstool. Then they went to their places, in joy, merriment, and in immeasurable light, singing songs with soft, gentle voices, while presenting the liturgy to him gloriously. They do not leave by night, nor depart by day, standing in front of the face of the Lord, and carrying out his will. Cherubim and seraphim, standing all around his throne, 6-winged and many-eyed. They cover his entire throne, singing with gentle voice in front of the face of the Lord. Holy, holy, holy is God, the sovereign Lord. Heaven and earth are full of his glory. The Lord sent one of his glorious ones, the archangel Gabriel. He said to me, "Be brave, Enoch. Do not be frightened. Stand up. Come with me and stand in front of the face of the Lord forever." How many are his commands, his multiple voice. The Lord's throne, supremely great and not made by hands. The choir stalls all around him. The cherubim and the seraphim armies, and their never silent singing. Who can give an account of his beautiful appearance, never changing and indescribable, and his great glory? I fell down flat and did obeisance to the Lord, and the Lord with his own mouth said to me, "Be brave, Enoch. Do not be frightened. Stand up and stand in front of my face forever." Michael, the Lord's archistratique, lifted me up and brought me in front of the face of the Lord. And the Lord said to his servants, sounding them out, "Let Enoch join in and stand in front of my face forever." And the Lord's glorious ones did obeisance and said, "Let Enoch yield in accordance with your word, O Lord." I looked at myself, and I had become like one of his glorious ones, and there was no observable difference. The Lord called one of the senior angels, terrifying and frightful, and he made him stand with me. The appearance of that angel was as white as snow, his hands like ice, having the appearance of great frigidity. He chilled my face, because I could not endure the terror of the Lord, just as it is not possible to endure the fire of a stove and the heat of the sun and the frost of death. The Lord said to me, "Enoch, if your face had not been chilled here, no human being would be able to look at your face." When the Lord sends out the great light, in that light there will be true judgment, without favoritism, for true and untrue alike, and no one will be able to hide himself then. Lucifer, one of the order of the archangels, deviated, together with the division that was under his authority. He thought up the impossible idea that he might place his throne higher than the clouds which are above the earth, and that he might become equal to my power. I hurled him out from the height, together with his angels, and he was flying around in the air ceaselessly above the bottomless. Thus I created the entire heavens, and the third day came. Before anything existed at all, from the very beginning, whatever exists, I created from the non-existent, and from the invisible, the visible. Listen, Enoch, pay attention to these words of mine. For not even to my angels have I explained my secrets, nor related to them their origin, nor my endlessness and inconceivableness as I devised the creatures, as I am making them known to you today. Lucifer, one of the order of the archangels, deviated, together with the division that was under his authority. He thought up the impossible idea that he might place his throne higher than the clouds which are above the earth, and that he might become equal to my power. I hurled him out from the height, together with his angels, and he was flying around in the air ceaselessly above the bottomless. Thus I created the entire heavens, and the third day came. Behold, I have thought up a poem to recite. From invisible and visible substances I created man. From both his natures came both life and death. As my image, he knows the word like no other creature. But even in his greatest, he is small, and again, at his smallest, he is great. On the earth, I assigned him to be a second angel, honored, great, and glorious. I assigned him to be a king, to reign on the earth, and to have my wisdom. There was nothing comparable to him on the earth, even among my creatures that exist. I assigned him a name from the four components: from the east, A; from the west, D; from the north, A; from the south, M. I assigned him 4 special stars, and called his name Adam. I gave him his free will. I pointed out to him the 2 ways, light and darkness. I said to him, "This is good for you, but that is bad," so that I might come to know whether he has love toward me or abhorrence, so that it might become plain who among his race loves me. Whereas I have come to know his nature, he does not know his own nature. This is why ignorance is more lamentable than the sin, such as it is in him to sin. And I said, after sin there is nothing for it but death. Adam, mother, earthly, and life. I created a garden in Eden, in the east, so that he might keep the agreement and preserve the commandment. I created for him an open heaven, so that he might look upon the angels, singing in triumphal song. The light, which is never darkened, was perpetually in paradise. The devil understood how I wished to create another world, so that everything could be subjected to Adam on the earth, to rule and reign over it. The devil is of the lowest places. Lucifer became aware of his condemnation, and of the sin he sinned previously. This is why he thought up the scheme against Adam. In such a form, he entered paradise and corrupted Eve, but Adam he did not contact. For those who steal the souls of men secretly, seizing the poor by the throat, taking away their possessions, enriching themselves from the possessions of others, defrauding them when they are able to provide sustenance. I said to the men who were with me, "Why are these ones being tormented unceasingly?" Those men answered me, "These are those who turned away from the Lord, who did not obey the Lord's commandments, but of their own will plotted together, and turned away with their prince, and with those who were under restraint in the 5th heaven." I felt very sorry for them, and those angels bowed down to me and said to me, "Man of God, pray for us to the Lord." And I answered and said, Who am I, a mortal man, that I should pray for angels? Who knows where I am going, or what will confront me, or who indeed will pray for me? In the middle of the heaven I saw armed troops, worshipping the Lord with tympani, pipes, unceasing and pleasant voices, accompanied with pleasant, unceasing and various songs, which is impossible to describe. Every mind would be quite astonished, so marvelous and wonderful is the singing of these angels. And I was delighted listening to them. And those men took me up on their wings, and placed me on the fifth heaven. And I saw there many innumerable armies, called Grigori. Their appearance was like the appearance of a human being, and their size was larger than that of large giants. And their faces were dejected, and the silence of their mouths was perpetual. And there was no liturgy in the fifth heaven. I then said to the men who were with me, "What is the explanation that these ones are so very dejected, and their faces miserable, and their mouths silent? And why is there no liturgy in this heaven?" And those men answered me, "These are the Grigori, who turned aside from the Lord, 200 myriads, together with their prince Satanael. And similar to these are those who went down as prisoners in their train, who are in the second heaven, imprisoned in great darkness. And 3 of them descended to the earth from the Lord's throne onto the place Hermon, and they broke the promise on the shoulder of Mount Hermon. And they saw the daughters of men, how beautiful they were, and they took wives for themselves, and the earth was defiled by their deeds. They and the wives of men created great evil in the entire time of this age, acted lawlessly, and practiced miscegenation, and gave birth to giants, great monsters, and great enmity. And this is why God has judged them with a great judgment, and they mourn their brothers, and they will be outraged on the great day of the Lord. I said to the Grigori, "I have seen your brothers, and their deeds, and their torments, and their great prayers, and I have prayed for them, but the Lord has sentenced them under the earth until heaven and earth are ended forever." And I said, "Why are you waiting for your brothers, and why don't you perform the liturgy before the face of the Lord? Start up your liturgy, and perform the liturgy before the face of the Lord, so that you do not enrage your Lord God to the limit." And they responded to my recommendation, and they stood in 4 regiments in this heaven. And behold, while I was standing with those men, 4 trumpets trumpeted in unison with a great sound, and the Grigori burst into singing in unison, and their voice rose in front of the face of the Lord, piteously and touchingly. I ascended to the east, into the paradise of Eden, where rest is prepared for the righteous. It is open as far as the 3rd heaven, but it is closed off from this world. The guards are appointed at the very large gates to the east of the sun, angels of flame, singing victory songs, never silent, rejoicing at the arrival of the righteous. When the last one will arrive, he will bring out Adam together with the ancestors. He will bring them in there, so that they may be filled with joy. Just as a person invites his best friends to have dinner with him and they arrive with joy. They talk together in front of the man's place, waiting in joyful anticipation to have dinner with delightful enjoyments and riches that cannot be measured, joy and happiness in eternal light and life. When the Lord sends out the great light, in that light there will be true judgment, without favoritism, for true and untrue alike, and no one will be able to hide himself then. Having love for one another until you go out from this age of suffering, so that you may become inheritors of the never-ending age. How happy are the righteous who shall escape the Lord's great judgment, for they will be made to shine 7 times brighter than the sun. For in that age everything is estimated 7-fold: light, darkness, food, enjoyment, misery, paradise, tortures, fire, frost, etc. All this I have put down in writing, so that you may read it and think about it.